Are you a sensitive soul? Do you love the spooky season? Do you love the thought of the supernatural and even being scared? But you really dislike things that are overly disturbing, gory, or violent? You are in just the right place, because I have compiled a list of Halloween movies that you can watch this year that are not too far in the direction of what is overly disturbing or gross. These are films that, as a sensitive person myself, I feel confident in recommending, and I think they are going to scare you and put you in the fall and the Halloween and spooky mindset without sticking with you in a disturbing way and giving you imagery that's going to be really hard to purge from your mind. To add some spooky fun to our list, I'm going to be adding candle pairings to each of our videos. So with each recommendation, I will give you some candle pairings that you can burn while you watch the movie. Some of these are even still available online right now, so if you see something that you like, I will leave links below to where you can get these things. These movies are going to go in order from child to wild. So we're going to start with the things that are the least scary, the least disturbing, kind of the more fun ones, and go into what I consider to be the scariest horror films that are still appropriate for a sensitive person. The first recommendation that I have is actually not a movie at all. It's a TV series, and it's for sure the least scary thing that I have on this list, but I absolutely love it, and that is R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. R.L. Stine, as you know, did Goosebumps back in the 90s. The Haunting Hour is a series for teens, and it was made, I guess, in the 2010s or so. Not every episode is going to be a winner. In fact, some of them are downright goofy, but a lot of them are actually a bit creepy. The episodes that I find the scariest are going to be Dreamcatcher and Catching Cold. Catching Cold is actually one of the most brilliant pieces of film I have ever seen. It's incredibly well put together. Other notable episodes that I definitely recommend are also Mascot and The Walls. I have a few candle recommendations for The Haunting Hour. All of these are going to be more in the light and fun direction. So my first recommendation is Kringle Candle's Graveyard Night. This is kind of a pumpkin spice, not too sweet. We also have Yankee Candle's Haunted Hayride. Haunted Hayride is going to, again, remind you of something that's going to be fun with your friends, something that maybe you did as a teen. Pretty lighthearted. And finally, South of Sanity's Burnt Candy Corn, which is a take on the candy corn scent, but a little bit darker, smokier, and woodier. Sweet and fun like candy corn, but a little bit mature. I am a Kringle Candle ambassador and a South of Sanity ambassador. I will leave my discount codes for both of these companies in the description box below. Up next, we have Donnie Darko. Now, a lot of horror buffs out there are not going to consider Donnie Darko to be a horror film. For the highly sensitive person, this could really fit the bill of something spooky, a little bit scary, but a great October watch. The film takes place around the time of Halloween, and a Halloween party is a heavy feature. It's more of a psychological thriller than a horror movie, which makes it a good choice for sensitive people. I've gone with one thing that's not overly spooky, but is getting a little spookier, and that's Pumpkin Spice King from South of Sanity. This is going to be a take on pumpkin spice that is not so sweet, going into something that is darker, creepier, nighttime with Goose Creek Cauldron's Witch's Cauldron. I recommend burning this one to invoke a mysterious, dark, questioning feeling. This is just a wonderful Halloween candle. Number 3 on our list is The Craft. The Craft is a cult classic that blends horror with teen drama. It's about a group of high school students, one of them who moves in from far away. They're dabbling in witchcraft together, and things get more and more intense as the movie goes on. As someone who is in love with the witch aesthetic and with witch lore, witch practices, this is a staple for me every single year. It's more thrilling than it is scary, but it does really invoke that spooky fall feeling in it. And it's a great movie to watch with friends. 2 trigger warnings that should be noted ahead of time. There is a scene of intense physical pain for one of the characters as she undergoes a medical treatment. So she's not being tortured per se, but she is undergoing something that is pretty intense, and you can tell. The other trigger warning is a scene of almost SA. If you're not sure what SA means, just Google that term. But there is a scene where somebody is almost, and it's really intense to watch. It doesn't happen, obviously, otherwise it would not be on my list. I would never subject anybody to that. But it is a scene of intensity where something really bad almost happens and I have to leave the room every time. So if that's something that you're sensitive to, let me know and I can find the exact timestamp. If you just leave me a comment below and I can let you know, like, hey, skip from here to here, just so you don't have to watch anything like that. Obviously, for the craft, we have to do the craft. South of Sanity's The Craft. This is an extremely witchy vibe provoking wax melt here. It is incensey and woodsy and it's lovely. Obviously, we also have to go with Kringle Candle's Coven, which is a lighter take on the witch shop. It is also incensey, but it's got a little bit more of like baby powder and floral notes. It's just a bit lighter, but another beautiful scent. And another candle pairing from Kringle Candle, we have Witching Hour. Witching Hour is gonna go if you wanna go a little bit darker in the witch direction. Coven is gonna go a little bit lighter, but there is especially a witch shop in this movie that is like the witch shop of my dreams, and I feel like either of these candles are gonna do well to create that atmosphere for you in your very own home. If you are enjoying the video so far, please hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps the video to spread to other viewers, so thank you. I really appreciate that. The fourth recommendation is a category. It is M.Night Shyamalan movies. So the ones in particular that I'm fond of are The Sixth Sense, Signs, and The Village. These movies tend to be suspenseful thrillers with a twist. They tend to be, in my opinion, thought-provoking and well-woven together, and there's also meaning behind the story. So it's not just a scare for the sake of scaring. There's something that the director wanted you to be ruminating on. My candle picks for the M.Night Shyamalan movies are going to be actually things that create a bit of a hearth experience in the home. That's kind of what I was thinking about. So I was thinking about Harvest. Harvest gives me this very homey sense, and it could be because this is the one that we burned a lot while I was growing up, but when I think about Harvest, I think about all of my family being together, watching a movie together. And that's because I think these M. Night Shyamalan movies really lend themselves well to that. I think they're great family movies. The other one is Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow is a bit pumpkin spicy, but also a little tiny bit gourmandy, and also it just invokes a nice kind of like homey family environment for me. It's something that doesn't go too much into the super spooky category, but it's distinctly fall, distinctly Halloween. So these are my kind of homey family gather around the hearth candle recommendations for M. Night Shyamalan. Number 5 is going to be The Shining. The Shining is a masterpiece of psychological horror. It's intense and unsettling, but it's not going to be filled with jump scares or graphic violence. There are some disturbing scenes, disturbing imagery, but as a sensitive person, I don't find them to be too much. I don't find them to be too overwhelming. If you're interested in a deep, character-driven horror movie, this is an absolute must-watch. I do want to give a trigger warning in this movie for abuse and abusive behavior. If you're somebody who grew up with a verbally abusive person, particularly a verbally abusive father, this may be difficult for you to watch at points. Now, obviously, I had to go with red rum. Kringle Candle's red rum. It's just too on the nose. How could I not? Actually, it's a very beautiful candle. There's like a lot of interesting, intricate notes going on in this candle. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna watch The Shining, you've gotta have a red rum candle. And my other pick is actually Cemetery Lane from Kringle Candle. Now, Cemetery Lane is going to invoke a haunted house. It's got this kind of musky, damp, haunted, spooky house thing going on, which reminded me a little bit, perhaps, of how that big giant hotel could be smelling in the middle of the winter, unused for so long, with so few bodies moving through it. I thought perhaps maybe the settling of the rooms could smell a bit like Cemetery Lane. Last on this list, and certainly my absolute favorite horror film of all time, and one of my top favorite movies of all time, is The Blair Witch Project. It's a found footage horror film, but it was an absolute game changer at the time, and is still considered one of the absolute game-changing movies in the whole horror genre. It is tense, and it is chilling, and if you've never seen it, it's going to scare the pants off of you. One thing to note, if you've never seen it, don't watch it with a group of people, you know, talking and whatever. Watch it alone or with somebody else and get really invested in the film, because it's the kind of film where you're going to need to pay attention because things unfold and little clues are left everywhere along the way to tell you what's going on with these characters. Something as a sensitive person that I really enjoy and appreciate about this movie is that it's shot almost entirely in the woods. Although it's unsettling, the nature shots on the students' cameras are are magical in their own very eerie way. And I love being immersed in the world that this film creates, even if I'm terrified throughout the whole thing. There is one trigger warning that I think is worth noting here, but it's very short, it's very brief, and that is one of the characters goes through an intense scene of what I can only imagine to be torture, if it is that person being tortured. You hear screaming in the woods, you hear something that sounds like a very intense experience for somebody. Again, as a sensitive person, I don't find it to be too over the top. However, if you've never seen this movie and you want to know which part of the movie I'm talking about, leave me a comment below and I will let you know where that is so you can kind of skip over that if you don't want to hear it. For our last film for the Blair Witch Project, first and foremost, another one right on the nose. Coffin Rock. This is, I mean, I don't know if it's based off of the Blair Witch Project, but there is a coffin rock that plays heavily in the Blair Witch Project. Very creepy scene. We also have, of course, I'm not gonna make it through this list without mentioning Yankee Candle's Witch's Brew, so obviously Witch's Brew. Nice, dark, smoky patchouli. It's normally, I think, a more fun scent, but it can go creepy. It can absolutely go creepy. And Yankee Candle's Black Magic is the last recommendation. This is a very spooky candle. This is dark, very smoky, very spooky, licorice. It's just, if you've never lit this one up, this is usually found in the Yankee Candle outlets, by the way, but yeah, Yankee Candle's Black Magic is going to create a dark and spooky mood in your home. There we have it, my friends. There are 6 horror movies that you can try out this year if you are highly sensitive, if you have a hard time watching horror. I hope that this was helpful and gave you some ideas. Thank you again for joining me in the Haunted Haven today. I really appreciate your presence here, and if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you here. If you have any other spooky horror recommendations for sensitive viewers, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if you've got other things that I can try, because I myself am always on the lookout for sensitive horror spooks. The end of October is nigh, but the end of the posting here is not. So we're going to continue after October. The spookiness lasts all year in the Haven. Until next time, my friends, until we meet again, spooky October to you, and stay cozy. Bye.